Hello, welcome back to all the recurring viewers, and welcome to anybody who's new. Happy to see you. It is a monthly review stream. This is something new that I'm going to try out, especially during this Thrive or Retire challenge. If you guys are new or you haven't seen me in a while and you're wondering what this challenge is all about, $30,000 minimum. I must make $30,000 before this year is over. That is a little bit more than what I made last year. If I do not make $30,000, I am going to retire. Of course, my plan is to make significantly more than $30,000, but that's the minimum. I need to see some growth. That's the whole plan. You can watch my yearly review video that I posted about 3 weeks ago now, where I kind of go into more detail, but it's a pretty long one, so you might need to watch it on 2x speed. For this monthly review, I made sure to shorten it significantly due to the complaints of the last review video being way too long, and that's totally fair. It upsets me a little bit that you don't want to watch me for 2 hours, but I get it. So I edited this down quite a bit, and I put it basically into 2 chunks. So the first 20 minutes of the video is going to be going over my profits, going over my game selection, all that kind of stuff, and then the last 20 minutes is going to go into why I quit ACR. I'm no longer an ACR Stormer, and I am a free agent for the foreseeable future. I will be streaming with no income for who knows how long, and that's okay. That's a big gamble on this journey during this challenge. So that's what this video is about. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, help me game the algorithm, and then also come check out my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/DramaticDegen. I stream, generally speaking, Sunday through Wednesday, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, depending on how I'm feeling. And we play lots and lots of poker. I think you guys will enjoy it. And I think you'll enjoy this video. Okay. I wanted to just a very quick review. This one's going to be a very fast one, I promise. The main complaint that I got when I posted my year-end review was it was too damn long. And you know what? Fair enough. Fuck you guys, but fair enough. Totally fair. So, because this is just a monthly review, I'm going to be very, very fast about this one. Like 10, maximum 20 minutes. We're just going to do a quick little dive into a few things that we did right, a few things that we did wrong, a few things outside of our control. Let you guys know how much I made, where the money went, and if my PT4 loads fast enough, I'll show you just a very, very quick rundown of my win rate and all that kind of stuff. You guys can get the scope. This is my January stats here. This is kind of the important part. Buy-ins, cashes. The gross profit ended up being about 8.8K. I peaked at like 8.9K. Just had a little dip here. So we almost got to 9K. CFP gets 18%. My buddy Alex buys 10% of my action. So he profited quite nicely. And it results in a 6.2K profit for myself. Canadian. It's really nice. What even is that Canadian? 9,000 bucks. Ooh. It's good income right there. Really, really nice. A big takeaway here that I really love is that I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 red sessions, 9 losing sessions. And of the 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, almost half of them were $100 or below. And our worst losing session was minus 462. So super manageable, super manageable. Don't need a big bankroll for this kind of poker. Really, really nice. Very, very consistent. I think I ran really good in January. That's something that I'm like more than willing to admit. But I gotta give myself some credit too. I think I played really, really well. I was probably studying more consistently this month than I maybe ever have in my entire life. And coincidentally, what do you know? We ended up winning as well. So, yeah, pretty nice. Now we'll do a little quick look at my games here. Oh, you know what? I'll show. This is how I track. Maybe there's a more efficient way of doing it, but this is how I track my Ignition and WPT, which are both on track sites. This is already included in my monthly totals, so don't worry about that. It's not separate, but just a quick glance at how well we did in January. I don't put in a ton of volume on either of these sites, mostly just because WPT is very CPU intensive, makes my computer lag if I have too many of their games up. And then Iggy, their games are just so long that I'm pretty selective about the games that I do decide to register, but it is very soft. Had about a 50% ROI over 70 games, 99 total entries. So it definitely ran good, for sure. And WPT is not much different. 87% ROI over 53 games. Funnily enough, WPT was good to us on just like one Sunday. I didn't even bank a big field MTT. I just kind of banked I don't even remember. There's a couple small games that just like kind of kept us over the edge. As you can see though, like it looks like I didn't really play more than what looks like the most games I maybe played in a day on WPT was this random Sunday. I played like 10 games or something. 10 games, yeah. So not a lot of volume. Very, very soft. Very, very soft. And if they fix their software a little bit, if they beef it up so it's just not so laggy, I will definitely be putting a lot more volume into WPT because the games are really, really good. And honestly, the software is clean. It just needs to run smoother. That's all. Yeah, Iggy, the games I'm playing are really low, so I put in more volume there, and I'll probably continue to put in more volume. But yeah, very, very soft, very, very manageable, even their big fields. So on our track sites, this is a quick rundown. This is all the sites together, nice and smooth. It's not exactly a straight line, but as the year goes on, if we continue to go with this formula, it's going to be a nice, smooth, straight line, especially as I work the kinks out of my game too. Looks like there's a little dip here where I probably just punted a little too much, who knows. But that'll flatten out as we put in more volume. I played 1,100 games track sites, so it's about 1,300-ish with WPT and Iggy. At a 31% ROI, I did the math, and it's closer to 40% ROI. Might be even 45% if I remember correctly. The bread and butter site is without a doubt global poker. Just a poker player's paradise, honestly. Almost all their games are freeze outs. Their late registration is, generally speaking, only an hour long. They have a couple 2-hour late reg games, but not many. And everyone's bad there. The fish are exceptionally bad. The regs are way worse than they think that they are. I'm sure there are regs there who think I'm bad, which, you know, whatever. Ego's gonna ego. But there's a lot of regs on this site who think they're good, but are clearly just button clicking. Which means that's a perfect formula for guys who are paying attention to profit from. So a big thing I did here. So this says 99% ROI. I made 8K profit over a $16 average buy-in. Crazy. Now, usually when you see a 99% ROI, that means, oh, you banked a big field MTT. You banked a 20K for 4K or something. I don't know. You know, one of those types of things, right? My biggest win, I think, was like $1,000. $1,200 here for third in a 2212K. And third in a 99 10K that I want to satellite into for 1,200. But outside of that, it's just consistent winning. 800 in a 22 1.5K in a mystery bounty where I won all the mystery bounties. So that's a sun run. But yeah, second. Won a satellite to a 218. Finished 15th for 750. First for 400. Second for 500. Right? 300, 400, 500, like just a lot of consistent winning. Very little downswing in this section. Small fields, really huge, right? Like we continue to play these small average field sizes. That's all global has. 100 players. And I lost on quite a few other sites, and pretty good reason. 888, easy to explain that. Small fields, right? Just like WPT, it's like we ran good by playing only 50 games. Iggy, we ran good by playing only 70 games, still being up. 888, who knows if we were playing good or bad. We only played 60 games. And even then, we only lost 17 buy-ins. Pokerstars, we should just like always take with a huge grain of salt, never really take seriously, because that's going to be the site where I have the biggest average field size. 1,000 players average field size. Most of the Stars games I play are on Sundays for the most part. And then the ones that I play on weekdays are still big fields. You know, the big 11 10K guaranteed, the 22 10K guaranteed. You know, their 3,000 player daily specials, all that kind of stuff. So even if we're up a bunch on this, we should never take it seriously. If we're down a bunch on this, we should never take it seriously. That's just like standard variance for the type of games that I'm playing, regardless of my skill depth, regardless of my skill. WPN, the infamous ACR. Once again, I just cannot win on this site. Medium average field size, 500 players. So we're playing quite a few big fields regularly. We had a really good start to the year. I think this was like, yeah, January 4th, 5th. I finished 5th in a $16 40K for 1.3K, and then just lost it all back. I don't know. Now that I'm no longer a Stormer, I have no idea why I can't beat that site. It's like, I think it's actually maybe one of the toughest sites to play, honestly. Quite a few players who are regs have come into my chat and been like, I can't win on ACR either, and I don't know why. And I don't know why. Yeah, I mean, I've tried a lot of different things. Tried like changing up my game selection, lowering my average buy-in, doing all these different things, playing bigger fields, all that stuff. I can't beat it. So bit tough. I'm definitely going to be lowering my volume on ACR. Still definitely going to play some ACR games. There's like, I think the Boski is a must play. There's a 22 freeze out 2K guaranteed every day that I think is probably a must play. The $16 25 is a must play. You know, a few really, really good games for sure. But there's also some other games that I'm gonna lower my volume with. Why are you not a Stormer anymore? Yeah, there's that command, but I'll do like a very quick rundown at the end of this explanation. So just bear with me, because I'm already almost done. So yeah, ACR, we played 153 games. I'm probably gonna cut that in half for February, maybe even more. Just play the essentials and skip out some of the other random ones that I was kind of using for monitor fill back when I was a Stormer. GG is kind of similar. I think the field size is going to be a bit smaller. Oh, it's bigger than ACR. Yeah, it's similar, like similar situation to ACR. Big fields, unlimited reentry, long late registration. It's just going to create variance. So, you know, I'm not going to take this like too seriously. It looks like we went on a nice little run there for a minute. Won a few small fields, went deep in some big fields, kind of keep our head above water, and then kind of swung back down a little bit over the next 2 weeks, last 10 days of the month. That's fine. I don't think I'm really going to change much. I think the formula I have on GG is pretty good right now, which is cap my reentries to 25 big blind starting stack. Play the big field $11 MTTs, like the $11 bounty builder 10K guarantee that they have like 5 of them each day. Play the big field $25 freeze outs, play the big field 25s on Sunday. And there's a few like decent satellites to the GG Masters. I'll play those and just do that. And I think I can actually like turn this red around. I haven't been profitable on GG maybe like ever, but I think the approach that I'm doing right now and the way I'm learning my game, I can see myself being a winning player on GG soon enough. I'll definitely be putting in more volume on GG than I will ever on Stars for that reason. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in a couple of months' time, I'll be like, you know what? We got to cut GG out of the schedule. But I'll think about it. So, you know, pretty easy explanation. I think it is important to see that, like, I am the one I'm putting the most volume in is the one that I'm making the most money. Chico, once again, like, we're break even, but like, who cares? Small volume. I mean, small volume everywhere, right? So like, take everything with a grain of salt. I think it is like nice to see on global that it's consistent. I'm not like making huge scores. I will say though too, just to be fair to myself, like just to try and bring myself down a peg a little bit, this is run good. It's, you know, maybe I have a 35% ROI in February on global and we don't make as much money. Who knows? We'll see. And last one, party poker, kind of run of the mill, 20% ROI. I expect to be kind of a 20% ROI player on party. The fields are a bit tough, but the field sizes are small and capped reentries, which absolutely makes it worth it for me to continue playing there. So definitely got to be putting in volume continuously on Party Poker, no matter how much their software tilts me. So I don't expect it to get very swingy on this site really ever. Average field size is also small here. Let's see, 140. Yeah, so not much bigger than global. So, what was the key takeaway from January for me? The big key takeaway from January for me was cutting my average buy-in down. I cut out 33s and 55s that I was playing. I do still play just a few 33s, like 2 or 3 33s on a Sunday. And, you know, if there's a good series 33 on global, I try not to skip it. So right now there's GPC Grizzly, and, you know, they have like 33 30Ks. I'll just like never skip those on global, especially because they probably overlay. I don't check. Outside of that, not really playing anything above a $22 buy-in. As you can see, right? Low average buy-in, very low here. $16 average buy-in looks like the highest thing on my site, on any site here. And I think that's helped a lot. I'm just playing really, really soft fields that are generally speaking like very, very low variance and have nothing but fish and bad regs. A lot of those like high stakes regs, you're just not seeing any that you would see like in a 33. You know, the guys that have $100 average buy-in will go down to a 33 to fill space, but they won't go down to a 22 or an 11 or a $5 rebuy. And that's where I'm making a lot of my money. So I'm going to continue doing that right now. And that's what's happening. One more thing over our review, just a quick look at win rate. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but 56K hands. So with global, you can't track hands, and Chico, I have yet to download hands on a PT4. It's probably closer to like 90K, maybe even 100K hands. So this is going to be incomplete, but my win rate is pretty high. 12 EBB per 100, and my actual win rate was minus 1.7. So considering that I made 9K and it looks like I ran significantly below EV, who knows what could happen in February. Not gonna like look at this too seriously because it's a small sample size. 56K hands is very, very small sample size. Could be an indicator that maybe we win even more in February. I don't know. We'll see. A big takeaway for me is like my win rate in the small blind, which is winning, which means like if it's winning, sample size is too small. Because after a million hands, no matter how good I'm playing in the small blind, it will never be green, or at least that's what I anticipate. I think, however, that also means that I'm playing the small blind really, really well. I got a pretty good strategy in the small blind. And it's a very aggressive strategy because people are pretty poor with their big blind defense, blind versus blind. I think that's a big part of it. And I've been squeezing a lot more in the small blind too, and I think that's helped a ton. However, my win rate on the button, I think, is pretty abysmally low. Raise first in is 48%, so it's a step in the right direction. I want to get it over 50, but that's pretty good. But I got to work on my button play, it looks like. Probably just giving up a little bit too often. But the win rates outside of that, EP, middle position, cutoff, they all could be a little bit better, but they're decent. Could be better, but they're decent. Yeah, so the game plan for next month, and honestly, probably the next several months incoming, at the very least, the first quarter of 2025, is to basically stay the course. I think I've kind of hacked my own personal formula that's going to do really well, which is a relatively high volume and a very low average buy-in. We'll continue playing a $16 ABI, even if I have like 3 10K months back to back to back, where I'm definitely can afford to play 33s and above. What I want to do is just really hound down my game. I really want to hound down my game. I'm definitely not quite at a point where I feel like I can crush 33s. And even if I can crush 33s, I'm probably still capped to my ROI. I don't think I can make a 40% or 50% ROI at 33s like I can here at a $14 average buy-in. So I just want to give myself the absolute best potential possible to get the highest ROI I can at 33s. That being is probably like 30% ROI-ish. And while I'm doing that, I will play these low stakes and figure out different things to tweak my game. You know, like I'm doing a ton of like really crazy bluffs, a lot of intense overbets, weird value bets here and there. And while I'm testing that out, I'm happy to do that in like an $11, you know, an $11 1K where there's no emotional pressure compared to like if I play a 55, even if it's like a 55 2K where it feels really important to min cash because it's at the top end of my buy-in range. I don't feel myself, I feel like that's too high pressure for me. I've definitely felt that in the past, where I don't try and make those plays that I should, because I'm like so emotionally invested in making sure that I at least cash the tournament, you know? So I need to be overrolled for those games, and I need to be well prepared for those games where I feel very comfortable in my own skin with the way I'm playing. And I'm starting to feel very comfortable in my own skin right now, but I just want to be like over prepared, overrolled, and feel really content with the way things are going before I decide to like take it to that next step. So yeah, the next like 3 months, probably at least, maybe even longer, are going to be like very boring average buy-in, but we're still going to print as we are right now. This green bar is actually incomplete. I gotta add a couple $100 to it. So yeah, why not just stay the course if things are going this well? After 1 month, we're already, you know, filling this green bar up above like really nicely. I don't see why we should try and hack it any further and, you know, get too aggressive or too impatient too early. So that is the long story short of the first month of 2025, the first month of our challenge to thrive or retire. And if anybody's new coming into the chat, you guys are wondering what this is, I probably should explain that at the beginning. If I don't hit 30K this year, I'm retiring. That's the bare minimum. I want to hit 3 times that. I want to make 90K this year. But if I don't hit 30, I'm retiring. I'm moving on. So off to a good start. The global graph is crazy. Yeah, it's nice, right? That's a really nice graph. Now, will I have a 99% ROI on global by the time the year is done? No. I wish I could say yes. That'd be really cool. But I think I can, if I continue playing this like low ROI kind of a formula, I think we'll have a really high ROI on global, like 40, 50, 60%. I think it's like super achievable. It makes me honestly like not aspire to play like a $100 average buy-in. Like I love that this is like totally stress-free. Like the most stressful day of the week for me was the 22nd, like last Tuesday, where I just like wasn't running good. 2 Wednesdays ago, that's when it was, and I lost $460. God, that's so nice, you know. So yeah, I'm just gonna stay the course. What's the time frame for the 30K goal? I'd like to get to 30K before summer. Yeah, the sooner the better. But once again, I'm not gonna like rush myself. I'm just gonna, for me, honestly, like the end point isn't even something I'm thinking about. 30K isn't something I'm thinking about. 90K isn't something I'm thinking about. I'm just like really enjoying the process, trying to embrace the process, taking it month by month, and just trying to think about like, I'll reflect on my week and be like, man, I'm really glad I did those study streams, and I'm really glad that I did like 2 hand history reviews on my own time, and like I'm really glad I showed up to those coaching sessions and stuff, you know, and just really embracing that and thinking about the things that I've learned. And I think it's paying off by thinking of it that way. So as of January 31st, I was no longer a ACR Stormer. For anybody who is unfamiliar or not up to date on what's going on in my life, there were several different reasons why I left. This is going to be a little bit repetitive for anybody who was here yesterday, but just for my YouTube and for, you know, anybody who wasn't around, I'll kind of explain myself a little bit. So I had thoughts about leaving about 12 months ago, back during the botting issue that ACR had that was quite public in the poker world. I can't remember what exactly sparked it off, but there was quite an uproar at supposed bots operating on ACR, particularly in their cash games, but also in their tournaments, their high stakes tournaments. And people were quite upset, justifiably so, if it were true that these bots were there. And ACR's first response was basically Ebony Kenny and Chris Moneymaker set out a challenge to give 100K to the first person who could successfully run a bot undetected on ACR. And somebody did it like in the first day, and then they didn't pay them out. And, or at least maybe they did, maybe they didn't, I can't remember. But I thought that was probably, from a PR perspective, like one of the worst things that ACR could have done in response to the botting issue. And I expressed myself in the ACR Discord, ACR Stormers Discord, which is just a private Discord amongst me, some Stormers, some Team Online members, and one of the managers at ACR. And I was trying to be pretty like balanced in my take, and came from a place of caring, legitimately caring about integrity of ACR, legitimately caring about the integrity of the game itself. And unfortunately, quite a few Stormers basically responded to me more or less saying, it's just the haters, just ignore the haters, which I thought was like a really diminishing response, like not actually taking the substance of what I'm trying to say at value. And that really upset me. I won't lie. I didn't respond to anybody. I didn't get angry. But it upset me to the point that I was very discouraged from expressing my opinion about the goings on at ACR moving forward. I think it could have been handled significantly better because from my understanding from the people that I was talking to behind the scenes at ACR, they were handling the bots really well. There was a heavy concern at ACR regarding their security and integrity. And like some of these supposed bots were actually like real people, unfortunately being caught in the crossfire of people with incomplete information. But they never really let that be known to the public, which was frustrating. So there was a severe lack in transparency, or at the very least communication from ACR, that I feel like they could have engaged in, that would have helped with their public image and would have helped with perhaps simmering the outrage that was going on at the time. And the fact that they weren't, and then the fact that some of my peers were, I don't want to say drinking the Kool-Aid, but, you know, for lack of a better term, was really frustrating and upset me deeply. I eventually got over it, especially considering that from what I had heard, ACR was taking the bots problem very seriously. And because of that, I decided to stay. On top of the fact that my manager, Adam, I think, you know, some of you guys might know him as It's Payday. He doesn't really stream anymore. He streams sometimes, but he used to be a regular streamer back in the day. He heads the sponsored pros, and he truly wants to like change the game for the better. And I believed in him, and I still believe in him. So I stuck around. The second instance that kind of upset me was back in the summertime. I guess a story had come out that ACR hadn't paid their non-poker streamers. There's a big like mainstream Twitch push of ACR back in 2022, I think it was. You guys remember that? Lots of huge free rolls, and they were sponsoring like Ludwig and Pay Money Wubby, and like all these huge non-poker streamers. And it came out a year and a half, 2 years later, this past summer, that they weren't getting paid. And from what it sounds like, there was a middleman agency that was kind of the liaison between ACR and the streamers, and ACR had paid that agency, and supposedly, allegedly, the agency hadn't paid the streamers. But then, of course, the agency denied that, made up their own reasons or excuses, and all of a sudden this whole situation was clear as mud. And I thought ACR was quite I thought they were kind of irresponsible with how they managed that as well. I feel like it could have been explained without much effort, and that, you know, rage could have died down quickly. But for whatever reason, they didn't do that, and that kind of upset me. But I stuck around for once again because of Adam. Honestly, like, It's Payday is a huge reason why I am a Stormer. I think he's like just one of the best team managers in the industry, and I believe in what he is trying to do in playing a part of making poker better. And I think he is one of the best employees inside of ACR. And I hope he doesn't give up the fight, because he's going to be the reason why ACR does as well as it does. And hopefully the reason why ACR's integrity improves over time. And then the nail in the coffin for me was this past Friday, when the ACR team pro Nacho took a picture of himself playing the Venom on Instagram with GTO Wizard in the background. I don't really have much to say as far as people using RTA while playing. I personally don't, and don't think I ever will use GTO Wizard, at the very least because of my conscience. My conscience wouldn't allow me to do it, even with no one watching, with no one able to see whether or not I'm using it. I just don't. I feel like the win wouldn't be satisfying if I did use it, to be honest with you. More importantly, my guilt would just overcome my entire body for life if I won a tournament using RTA. Nacho was found doing that. He's a team pro, and I thought that was pretty stupid. If you're at least going to use it, at least minimize it when you post a photo of you playing poker. Still not cool, all the same, obviously. I thought what was pretty awful was the way in which, once again, ACR responded to the situation, which was they posted a tweet saying, Nacho is a goofball and we love him. There's a time and a place for everything, and that was not the time nor the place to be doing that type of shit. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. He's just a goofball DD. Yeah. Insane. I thought that was an incredibly inappropriate response. And that's when I went, okay, currently from like, at least from a PR perspective, they haven't learned their lesson from a year ago. And here are some instances of that being the case. So clearly their current values are not aligning with mine, which is that there needs to be a certain level of self-awareness, and there needs to be some examples of growth and improvement, and they're not showing that right now. So that was a nail in the coffin for me. So I decided today, that was on Friday the 31st, and I said today's my last day as a Stormer. I think an appropriate response, even though it is a team pro, would have been to say we're suspending him from play. Buy-in is going into the prize pool. We will be doing an investigation, and we will come to a conclusion in the near future as to whether or not we do think that Nacho was cheating. We don't think he was initially, but we will take the necessary steps and precautions to decide whether or not that's the case. And if they had done that, I think they would have gained a lot of goodwill from the public, from their player base. But instead, they decided to be playful about it, and that was not the place nor the time to be doing it. Now, it seems like the consensus in the poker community is that he wasn't using it to cheat. But even if that were the case, the fact that he even had it up in the first place should warrant some level of punishment. I think at best he was being negligent, and at worst he was cheating. And punishment should be determined based off of where he falls inside that scale. And there should be a punishment. Negligence is still punishable by law in different scenarios, right? And I don't think that should be any different when it comes to monitoring cheaters, because cheaters is the biggest issue in poker, and it forever will be. And sites should take it upon themselves to implement a certain level of, justice, for lack of a better term, when catching people being cheaters or negligent. Their public response basically was, we don't particularly care if he's being negligent. And I think that's super unfair. So yeah, I left. That being said, I really want to make it important, and I'm not trying to be diplomatic. I truly believe this. I'm being completely 100% honest. Not that I'm ever dishonest, but I'm being very honest when I say that there are a ton of good people that work at ACR. I think a lot of people that work at ACR have poker's best interest at heart, and truly have a love for the game and want to take part in the community and making the community better. Unfortunately, there are just things that fall through the cracks that they don't seem to be well prepared for or well equipped for. And that's kind of like their biggest downfall right now. And, I can see myself being a part of ACR again if they ever have me, but there would need to be signs that there has been improvement regarding all of the things that I just talked about. And I think that can happen. I think like in a year or 2 years time, if they start to kind of weed out some of the people who are not really doing their jobs well and replace them with people who are a little bit more functional, or perhaps encourage people inside the company who are doing great jobs to continue to do a great job through, promotional incentivization, then I can see myself being a part of ACR again, you know, in the future. But for the time being, with the way that in which they're operating now, I'm not interested. Once again, like, it's payday. I see him, like, if they start to give him like more responsibility inside the company, like, oh my god, it truly, like, I don't know a lot of people in the behind the scenes of ACR, but he's one of them. And like, I like, man, if in a couple years time, if they give him more roles, like running the site in a really responsible way, god, that, like, things can really change for the better. But they also need more guys like him as well. And it sounds like that there are a few people who are perhaps not on that level like Adam is. So on top of the fact that, you know, once again, like I was saying earlier, like, I think their MTTs need to change. Their rakeback structure is really good for sure, but their MTTs need to change. I've spent the last couple of years being break even basically on ACR, and that's good, but still a good poker player. But considering my average buy-in, the game quality needs to change a little bit, because it's just a really, really swingy site for me. And just kind of seems like no matter what buy-in I play, that's never really going to change, despite how much effort I'm putting into learning. So that's a big one as well. And I just found myself not wanting to promote the site because I wasn't enjoying, towards the, like, kind of the end of my tenure as a Stormer, I was just kind of not enjoying playing their games that much. I was playing them out of obligation, and that wasn't particularly entertaining for me. So yeah, just all of those things kind of added up to me leaving ACR. So for now, for the time being, for the short term, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to be a free agent. How long am I going to be a free agent for? I don't know. A year, 6 months, 2 years? I have no idea. I'm not going to worry too much about that. What I'm going to do in the meantime is put more focus into my poker. I'm going to try and be as consistent as I have been so far, at least in January, which was to post a video every Tuesday. If I could post more videos, I will, but just kind of committing to that bare minimum of having a YouTube video posted every Tuesday. Try and get my social media game up, and try and, like, strengthen my following. If I can grow my following, great, but I think I have enough of a following to kind of, like, strengthen it, galvanize it, and keep people sticking around, hanging on, and following the journey. And that'll help me maybe get a sponsorship with someone else down the line, maybe Coin Poker, maybe Global Poker, I don't know. But yeah, for at least the next quarter, I'm going to be free agent, which means I'm not going to make any money on Twitch. Kind of a gamble, honestly. This is a big gamble for me. This is the first time I'll go longer than 4 months without a income from streaming since, like, 2017, 2018. So big gamble I'm taking on myself right now. But I think I have everything set in place for this gamble to be worth it, and for it to be, at worst, a mistake. Not anything that I'm ever going to regret. So that's what I got going on. There's the long of it, chat. I'm trying not to sound overly salty or mean about ACR, because I'm incredibly grateful for the experience and the opportunity. I mean, so many cool opportunities came because I was an ACR Stormer, and I do not want to underplay or undervalue that, because I recognize how much cool opportunity and experience I did have as a Stormer. But at the same time, that at some point did not become enough for me to justify sticking around. Some of the experiences obviously was like all those Triton packages I had, a chance to get, and I got close a couple of times to going to Triton. Just didn't run good enough, just a little bit towards the end. I did win 10K out of one of the challenges, so there was some extra value there. Obviously, the 5K that I won last year to go play in Vegas was really cool. It's the first time I've gone to the World Series in like 8 years. And then, of course, just the crazy story of being, the first guy to get knocked out at the WSP main event. For better or for worse, kind of put me on the map a little bit. That was crazy. It wouldn't happen if I wasn't a Stormer, which sounds silly because, like, it was kind of a depressing time, but it's a great story. Like, I got over it pretty quickly. I'm totally fine with it now. I still think I played the hand fine for what it's worth. And it's like a story that I tell with glee, weirdly enough. Like, I think it's just kind of funny. It helps that I didn't pay 10K to play for it. I won a satellite into it. So it didn't cost me very much. But still, you know, all of that is because of ACR. Went deep in a couple WSP games. I think I finished like 100th in a $500 WSP game. Like, that's cool as hell. I got so close. One of the guys that I was at a table with all day actually won the whole thing. So it was like, you know, technically I was like very close to winning a WSP last summer. Like, that's my childhood dream. When 16-year-old Travis would have just been so excited to hear this, you know. So how is that hit your grind in daily life and finances? Got to tighten up more? And is that going to the drop in the ABI? Got to cover the loss in revenue? Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the original tension with ACR and with like my journey as a poker player when I first joined the Stormers was that it was going to be a supplementary income that was going to be a nice addition to my monthly poker income. So, you know, my hope was to average, you know, 8K a month in poker or something, and then make an extra 2 to 3K from ACR and just print in life and use that as like my life expenses and the poker money I put away into savings or something. That didn't end up working out. It actually got to a point where, you know, the Stormers pay, at least in 2024 and 2023, accounted for like 40% of my yearly income, which is great. It keeps my head above water. It keeps the bills paid, keeps the lights on, keeps me warm. But that was not ever my intention. My intention was to have poker prosper for me. So, doing this, leaving ACR, technically, given the circumstances over the last 18 months, basically, is a huge hit, or could potentially be a huge hit on my income. So it's even more of an imperative that I do well in poker moving forward. That being said, over the last like 3-4 months, I've been like budgeting really well, saving really well, putting money into an emergency fund. And then in the new year, we move my average buy-in down, where my swings are going to be at worst minimal. I could still have some losing months for sure, but like it'll be, I have a feeling like my worst losing month, knock on wood, if I continue this average buy-in, is going to be like minus 1,000. Super manageable, right? So I think moving my average buy-in down as I quit ACR is definitely the right play. Just reduce the variance in my life and continue to go with this lifestyle that I've been going with, which is like being very aware of my budgeting, being very aware of my spending, you know, less takeout, less kind of luxurious purchases, you know, all that kind of stuff, and just stay the course, and we'll be all right. Gonna have to make that 60K now. As always, though, I'm with you 100%. You could do it. Appreciate it. Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, this is the bare minimum of what I want to reach or I retire. If I hit 60K, that's 90K Canadian. Like, especially with my lifestyle, single, no kids, no debt, no dog, no mortgage. Like, that's a lot of money for me to put away, and I'm gonna be okay. So, I'd like to try and make 90K USD with this formula that I'm on. You know, who knows? The pace that I'm at, that could happen. Yeah, we're gonna be all right. I think that's it. I think that's it as far as like explaining the month. That is the update for January, and we're gonna keep doing what we're doing in February. Nothing much is gonna change in that regard. Do you guys have anything to add? Feel free, obviously. What do you guys think, by the way? Exciting, right? It's kind of an interesting new part of my journey.